me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the weatherman on the moose, and on our journey today, we're going to jump into those exoprimal suits or exosuits or whatever they're called for exoprimal. Bunch of games are coming to Game Pass, so jump on into the Xbox Drive. Bro!
No power greater than X.
Exosuits.
How did you know that I said exosuits? Can you hear me when I do the intro?
Of course I can hear you when you're doing
the I didn't
intro,
know that. I don't know, man. Exosuits. Yes, we're here. Oh my goodness.
That's top of mind, Sean, because, you know, we of course just watched the trailer together.
Yes.
Exoprimal. And we're all about exosuits now.
Yes. Sean. Put them on me. I want to wear your exosuit, Ryan.
And this is where, you know, this was a mistake. We finally learned the point where this became a mistake, and this was that moment where we finally learned.
And this was a mistake.
Also, Sean, just because you asked, you know, it's like 30 degrees outside today. It's like super humid here in Toronto, and there's actually a heat warning currently in place in Toronto.
Watch out.
3:20 in the morning. It's when the heat warning dissipates.
Ryan, bringing you back to video games, whenever there is a heat warning outside, it reminds me of that mission from Mass Effect where you go to the planet and the radiation is so extreme that you have to stay in the shade. You can't, if you're in the sunlight, you'll die from the radiation. So that's what it's like in Toronto right now, is what I'm picturing.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly that, Sean. That's what's happening right now. In fact, you know, Kevin, Mr. Save the Game Media, also understands how hot it is too, because I think it's also very similarly. Him and I have very similar temperatures, Sean. So
I think most humans have similar temperatures, right? I think that's how it works.
That's not what I meant. You know what I meant, Sean. You know what I meant, and you took it the
we're
wrong
off to
way.
A beautiful start, man.
Once
Holy
again,
cow.
Xbox Drive was a mistake. This is what we learned today. So let's clean the garage, because I got to get us out of this mess. So folks at home, if you're watching the show and you want to support us, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right now over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. If you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, and let us know in the comments below what you're excited about, and also hit that notification bell. Be notified whenever we go live on the channel, like with this live stream that you're watching right now, or whenever we put up new videos on the channel, like a certain new video, Sean, since we were talking about YouTube. It's top of mind. We should promote this little video that might actually be out by the time you're listening to this on audio feeds, or, you know, pretty soon after you're watching the live feed, Sean.
We did a thing. Okay, so Ryan, I was going to ramble, but the thing that we did was we watched all the trailers for the games coming to Game Pass in July. They just announced them. We'll get to those details a little bit later. You can find that video. We did basically created our own little Game Pass Direct or Game Pass report, if you like, Ryan. And I'm excited about it because as we covered Game Pass games coming twice a month, really, what often happens for people who have listened to this podcast, and probably every other Xbox podcast, just saying, is you get excited for the games that you've heard about. You flippantly dismiss the games you've never heard of before. And I feel like that's not good for me. I've never really felt good about that. I feel like I might have been missing games that could interest me because I didn't take the 5 seconds it takes to just go learn a little bit more about it. So you and we sat down like 45 minutes ago and we just watched the trailers one by one and reacted to them. And now it's a YouTube video here at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. It's a twice a month summer game fest. It's amazing.
Exactly. We're just literally watching the trailers back to back like we would if we were watching the Xbox showcase or something like that. And yeah, like we put them out there. So now we know what all these games are gonna be, for better or for worse, as far as, you know, we're
for better or for worse. Yes, exactly.
So look out for that on the channel later today. Or again, if you're listening on audio feeds, tomorrow on Thursday, you should already be able to see that live on the channel, youtube.com/carpoolgaming. Also, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget to subscribe to us there and also rate us if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And last but not least, if you want the show a little bit early on the audio feeds, or if you want one big audio feed that has all the Carpool Gaming shows on it, or some exclusive content exclusive, you can head on over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming, throw a little tip in the tip jar, and out comes content, including, Sean, I want to highlight one of the Patreon shows this week because it has to do with this show. Because if you are a ye old patron, you might have noticed that Carpool Gaming BTS went up this week. And the reason I'm pointing it out on this show in particular is because most of BTS this week was actually about Xbox Drive 300. So if you want a sneak peek behind the curtain on what's happening with Xbox Drive 300, make sure to check out Carpool Gaming BTS this week, because we actually talked a lot about that. So there you go. Look at that, Sean.
You don't want to talk about it? You don't want to talk about it here?
I mean, do we want to talk about it here? Do we keep it secret? Do we keep it safe, or do we just talk about it now? See, look,
I think we could talk. I mean, like, there's no Xbox news, there's no court happenings or anything. And also, here's a shot across the bow, Ryan, for all the other Xbox podcasts out there who have been just relying on the Activision Blizzard King thing to populate their shows with things to talk about. What are you going to do when that's all over? Have you forgotten to talk about games? We haven't. Not here at Carpool Gaming. We talk about video games, talk about Game Pass games, we talk about video games that we play.
You said video games already.
Damn it. Dip, dive, dodge, duck, and dodge.
What else we talk about here? XSN sports games. Sean.
How do you have that at the ready? It's right there. It's amazing.
It's right there, Sean. All right. Do we want to do a sneak peek like Seth Sergil says? Do you have it, Sean? Oh my God, Sean, it's happening.
I did it. Yes. Xbox Drive 300, July 19th. That's 2 weeks from today, Ryan. So today is episode 298. Is that what this is? 298? Yeah. Says in the description below. Next week, 299. This is how counting works. After that, episode 300. We should have the count from the Muppets join us. 298. 299 episodes. Yes, Ryan. Here's the thing. We could talk a lot about this thing. There's a lot of bullet points. We'll share more maybe next week. But the one thing I might want to say to people today is you might wonder, how are you going to celebrate? How are you going to ring in 300 episodes of the Xbox Drive?
Besides the fancy graphic that we've got here, by the way.
Exactly.
It's already fancy enough to the point where I can't even properly point at it, because there it is.
There it is, over there.
There it is.
Surely we'll have Phil Spencer join us. We'll have him take breaks from his depositions. That will probably not happen. But one thing we can control, Ryan, this will be, brace yourself, a 300-minute episode of the Xbox Drive. We typically pride ourselves on being nice and short, and it used to be within my commute to work. That was the whole point of the show. We're breaking that all together, my friend. 300 minutes. That how many hours does that work out to, Ryan?
5 hours.
5 hours. 5-hour podcast. So get ready. We'll talk more about what we're going to talk about during that 5 hours, but that's just how my brain works, my friend. 300 episodes celebrated with 300 minutes. We're gonna spend 1 minute each talking about all 300 episodes.
Of course. We'll go back and so we'll randomly talk about episode just 152 and what happened in episode 152. We were like, oh, we talked about Game Pass games that week. And
it'd be interesting. Actually, I would love to go see what we did talk about on that episode, because you may have serendipitously landed on a key moment. Like, we've been doing this show for 6 years. 300 episodes is give or take about 6 years, which is incredible. Goes back to the days before Game Pass. It wasn't a thing. And when Game Pass came around, it didn't have first party games. So we're going to talk about like the milestones, both with the show, but then also like where Xbox has come from. I think that's a really actually timely and important conversation to have just in general. It seems like we're at a tipping point with Xbox overall, but we won't tell about the giveaway just yet. Next week we'll talk about the giveaway. We'll show you guys what's coming up.
All we'll say though is we have giveaways and they're awesome.
They're awesome, dude. Yes, I cannot wait to share that with you guys. There's so much more, but for now, mark it in your calendars. The evening of July 19th. It's going to go late into the evening, 5 hours, my friends. Yeah. So get your camping chairs out, I guess. I have no idea.
Get ready for us to talk about all kinds of stuff. And honestly, because when I think about it, it's like, I honestly can't believe it's almost been 4 years since I joined the show.
4 years, man. Yeah, dude. Like, my kid is 6.
Exactly. Because I joined the show when Gears 5 came out, which was 4 years ago.
That's crazy. That's right too. That's exactly when that happened. Oh my!
It was like the week after, like when you came back with Robert Ferguson. Like that was on like the next week. So
we touched hands. Yeah,
exactly.
Most people would say like they shook hands, but I'll say it. I touched his. I touched his hand. Oh my gosh!
So also, Sean, we have another thing to celebrate Xbox Drive 300. Do we want to mention that too?
Go for it. I have no idea what you're gonna. There's lots of things you could be mentioning here, but who cares?
A special physical thing that people may be able to purchase with real world dollary dues.
Yes. And then
we have a special shirt coming to celebrate Xbox Drive 300 as well. And that will be live on the store at some point soon. I don't think we figured out the release timing of that, but that'll be soon. But it's going to have this very fancy logo on it, the Xbox Drive 300 logo, which, by the way, shout out to Seth Sturgill, who designed this logo. As we talked about it in like an impromptu, like 2-hour meeting after something that we recorded together, like Nintendo Drive or something.
I love it.
But yes, so that'll be on it. You'll get it on a shirt. And we'll be talking about that as well sometime in the future as well.
I'll just describe for the audio listeners, and you guys can check out on Twitter and in the Discord. We'll be sharing this as well, so you get a glimpse of it. It's basically an odometer. Here is the idea here. So we've gone 300 kilometers or miles or stone or whatever they use over in Europe. I have no idea. That's not distance, that's weight.
Yeah.
But the odometer has gone up to 300. A very wonderful, bold looking logo. I think it's going to make for a great shirt. I'm definitely going to be picking one up because it's commemorative, my friend. We've been at this for a long time. We've cultivated a wonderful community. You know, Xbox might be in third place, but who cares? Xbox Drive is first in your hearts.
Yeah.
Alongside the Nintendo Drive and PlayStation Drive. We're all first in your hearts. Yes. Yeah. All right. YouTube.com/carpoolgaming is where we'll be for 5 hours. That's 300
July
minutes.
19th. Brace yourself.
Can't go back.
We'll have more details next week, I think, about this, or on Twitter later this week.
Yes.
So look out for
Indeed.
that. All right, Sean. Let's grab our 8 tracks. Pop them in. It is time for the playlist. And Sean, according to the document, you played one game this week that Court has a question about, but I'll let you introduce that game first.
Which I don't even remember what if I put it on the docket, but I finished number one. I finished BioShock. I wanted to mention that.
Before you get into second game, Sean.
Okay.
Court Alone has a question for you.
Okay.
Court asks, where do you rank BioShock in gaming history, Sean?
Ooh. BioShock is up there, dude. And so the reason I was playing it, if anybody's been listening to the show for the last couple of weeks, I've mentioned that we have a video game book club. It is run by the community here at Carpool Gaming, and the community chose BioShock as the next game. So we're gonna get together like a bunch of old ladies in a book club. We're gonna talk about Tupperware and whatever. I don't know, dude. Just what do people talk about in book clubs? We're gonna talk about BioShock, okay, on July 6th, 9th, whatever this weekend is, the 8th on Saturday. So this
weekend, just say this Saturday, Sean. It's
on
easy.
Saturday, this weekend, please join us, whether you played it or not. I think these are great conversations to be a part of. And to Court's question, I think BioShock is one of the best games ever made. Now, Ryan, one of the things I'll get into in the conversation on Saturday is I think the ending isn't nearly as good as I remember it to be. Like, it's actually kind of awful. The end boss, not very good at all.
It's real bad.
But this game is so layered, and it, like, I think of it up there with Half-Life for anybody who has played PC games back in the day. Like, I just think it's so important, and so many games pay homage to it now, and it still was fun to play for me. It's kind of an old game, 2007, I think.
2007.
Yep, exclusive to the 360 back in the day. I played it on Xbox Series X as part of the remastered collection. Got to tell you, Ryan, this thing is a buggy disaster, an absolute mess. It's atrocious. I need to warn people away from it. Only that I think I bought it like $10. You get 3 games, so you kind of can't turn away from that. I'm curious to know from others if BioShock 2 and Infinite are just as buggy, but the game crashed on me many, many times. And I have at least, I think, 3 or 4 achievements that are bugged that aren't unlocking. I don't want to I'll save my spoilers for the conversation on Saturday with the group. But yeah, there's some things that need to unlock. Like, you do them as part of the story and I finished the game, rolled credits, and no, man. So too bad.
But it was one of those things where, like, when this collection came out, it was noted that it was very buggy, and I guess they never went and fixed BioShock the original. I will say, as someone who went back and played BioShock Infinite last year, I replayed it as part of the collection, and I didn't have any of the bugs playing BioShock Infinite, at least going back to that. So I do know that ran a lot better.
So weird.
But I know that this was a problem ever since the reviews came out for this back in 2016. And in fact, if you want a more stable version, you should honestly just play the backwards compatible version of BioShock with the 360 version.
I already have those achievements, though.
Or you play it on PC. I think those are probably your two.
I did buy the I did recently buy it on Switch and then chose to play it on Xbox because of the achievements. But yeah, it was pretty buggy, my friend. But it's just an absolutely gorgeous game, a wonderful premise, wonderful setting. Just totally unique.
So before we move on to your second game, Sean, do you want my opinion, my answer to Court's question? Because it's
where do you rank it? You don't
game.
Like it? Uh-oh.
It's not that I don't like it. I actually like BioShock a lot. I think it's a great game, but I don't even think it's the best game of 2007, let alone one.
Well, that's a crazy year, dude. Okay, so what are talk about the games that came out in 2007? Because
like for example, we had Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
We had Halo 3.
Yeah.
We had Metroid Prime 3.
Modern Warfare.
We had Modern Warfare. Like I think, like for example, like for my personal rankings, even for just that year, like I enjoyed in the moment like Halo 3 much more than in a game like BioShock.
Interesting. I did not. In that year, for sure, BioShock would have been like, holy crap, I'd never played anything like it. I played the demo. I remember the demo experience, dude.
That's true. Like, the demo for that BioShock was really good. But even Metroid Prime 3, I also really enjoyed more than BioShock.
You would. Yeah.
I mean, why I'm such a Metroid fan. But then also Mass Effect 1, I mean, that's one of my all-time favorite games. So just having it come out the same year as BioShock kind of overshadowed it in a big way, even with all its problems with the original release of Mass Effect. Like just exploring space and going through that storyline like that, I liked it definitely more than BioShock. So it's one of those things where I do really like BioShock a lot, but it's not like honestly in my top. It's not even in cracking my top 25 games of all time.
Maybe we'll do that sort of thing. The chat is here asking for some sort of tier listing, some sort of tournament brackets for our 300-minute episode. We've tossed around different ideas of how we might want to do this. One of the thoughts, just to kind of open things up a little bit here, is like, what were some of the best games in the lifetime of the Xbox Drive, which obviously wouldn't include something like BioShock, but that could be something that's an idea we're playing around with. But I wonder how many games that would include. Like we have to do the math on that, Ryan. We've got to get our notebooks out.
So Xbox Drive would have started in 2017.
Yep.
So anything post 2017, so not BioShock the Collection, which came out in 2016, but like Persona 5, for example, came out in 2017, or there was a whole bunch of stuff in 2017.
So there's a couple different ways people should, I think we've got a pretty good idea of what we want to do for episode 300, but if you guys have ideas, like jump in the Discord. It's the best way to do it. Hit us up. The feedback channel is there. The Xbox Drive channel is there. Just tag us. I'd love some input on that, but I'm excited, dude. BioShock is good, but I have a lot of fondness for BioShock, even the hacking, which is basically Pipe Dream, which is like a old game from
Game Boy Color. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the boss fight, man, the final boss is really
it's no good.
It's honestly one of the most deflating endings I've ever played in a game.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
Just it thuds. It's very abrupt. I think I was streaming it over at twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live, and everybody's kind of like that. That's it. Like for such a story narrative rich game, so much directing it and pushing you forward, and then all of a sudden it's done. So too bad.
All right, Sean, tell me about the other game you played.
You love this game, Ryan Turford. I have a physical, the Resident Evil 4 remake. I've been playing this thanks to the Edmonton Public Library. I did not purchase this game. I've rented it from the library, which means I only have 3 weeks to beat it, Ryan. I am in chapter 4, I think. I have conquered the lake, if that makes sense to you.
Nice. Yeah.
I think I'm on the other. So it's kind of opened up for me a little bit here. And I should also mention, I haven't played Resident Evil 4 since the Wii.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of crazy to think about.
It's nuts, dude. What was that?
That was like, I think that was also
2007.
But yeah, like I'm actually pretty sure it was 2007 because it was the year after the Wii came out is when it came out. So yes. So but yeah, like Resident Evil 4, like that's honestly before this came out, I think the Wii version was actually the best version of the game. Yeah. If I'm being honest. But I think they added a bunch of stuff to this game, as you're probably seeing now with the lake area. Because with the lake before, you basically fought that boss, you got to the other side of the lake, and then you went immediately back to shore.
Just back and forth.
Whereas in the remake, there's like this whole section at the lake that you now do, which is
totally. Kind of reminds me of God of War, honestly, like just kind of traversing on water, which I feel like you don't really see too much in games too much. Like I've got this powered vehicle. That boss fight was not that great either. While we're talking about sort of underwhelming boss battles,
they basically the boss fight itself was very similar to what they had in the original game for that.
It's fine. I'm not holding against it.
I'm actually really excited to see what you have to say about the later game bosses, because
interesting.
They changed some stuff with the other bosses, but I think for the better.
I love the other thing that because I don't know that game from 2007. That's a long time ago. Yeah. I couldn't tell you specifically what was there, what wasn't there. So I'm kind of like thinking about that and try to remember as best I can. But the one thing I do know that they've added are these merchant sort of side quests. You can go around. I think there was one in the first game I think I saw, and now it's throughout the game. Yep. You can go kill some snakes and collect them and go sell them back. I just picked up a golden egg from this chicken kind of area. Yeah. It's like off to the side, which was really interesting.
Well, the golden eggs fully restore your health if you eat them, but if you sell them to the merchant as part of the quest, then you get a whole bunch of rewards for it.
Yeah. So you get these things that you can trade in, which has been a lot of fun. I'm getting into the weeds though, Ryan. I need to tell you something about this game. Okay. This game is instantly playable. It is so great. The horror isn't too paralyzing, I don't think, for people who don't really like scary games. It definitely has like a creep factor at the start, but you get so used to killing these enemies that I don't know that they really spook me too much anymore. So I just play the game, and it's like from this and BioShock compared to a lot of games I really try to get into where I'm just like, I don't understand. Again, I'm too stupid to play Zelda. This game is so playable. And I want to stay up late doing it. And I'm trying to articulate, maybe I'll do a better job over the next couple of weeks about like why that is, where you just launch the game and you play it. And I just want to say that that's something I hold in high regard with a video game. I think the shooting feels good. There's a nice challenge there to hit them in the face, but they kind of have like their movements that you gotta let them play out their animations. And then you fire them in the face. And then I got a little practice at the shooting range. I think the merchant is wonderful as always. I don't know, dude. I could go on and on about this. I don't know if we want to harness the conversation at all. But the thing I was thinking about last night as I was tearing myself away from it to go to bed is just like it's so cheesy. Like there's actually nothing from a story or narrative direction that goes, I need to play this and appreciate the art of Resident Evil. It's like totally opposite. This is a video game.
It knows what it is.
I'm playing in Japanese language as well with subtitles, so I don't know if that's changing it for me at all. But I always tend to do that. I love upgrading my weapons and getting that to be a little bit more powerful. I'm scouring the environments, trying to find every treasure, every key. I think that's great. Buying the treasure maps and kind of just diving in. I'm very excited by this game, if you can't tell, Ryan. I love that you're letting me just kind of go on here.
Absolutely. I'm just letting you breathe a little bit, Sean, because I'm first of all, I'm so happy you're actually playing it now, because this is a game I really enjoyed back in March. It's honestly one of my favorite games still of the year. And I think like this is a game that I expected you to like more than Resident Evil 2, despite the fact that I enjoyed Resident Evil 2 more because I love the horror aspect of it more. Resident Evil 4 is so much more approachable, to your point, because it's not really focusing on the horror aspect. Like that's not the point of it. It's focusing on the action and putting that at the forefront and kind of letting it speak for itself.
Right. But it is creepy, man. Like they're doing terrible things to, the strangers who descend upon this village.
Sure. There's still some, in fact, in this version in particular, it's definitely creepier than the original Resident Evil 4. But there's still like the cheese, like to the point where Seth points in the chat that where's everyone going bingo whenever after the village fight, after you kill everyone when they run away.
Yes.
Because he says that line. There's all these, like, Leon's got all these one-liners throughout the story, which is great.
So good. Yeah, I'm having a blast with it.
I love the English voice actors, delivery on some of those lines too. Like Nick, who does the voice of Leon in Resident Evil 2, he's back in this game as Leon again. So, and he does a great job.
The last thing I will say on this, Ryan, I think this actually relates to Dead Space, and now I think about my year 2023. Everybody's been like the best year in video game and everything. I'm like, I played Dead Space remake. I'm now playing Resident Evil 4. I played BioShock remastered. I'm having a throwback kind of a year. And I will say, like, I obviously wasn't day one with this game, and I didn't even buy it. I got it from the library, and I think it's because like maybe I was discounting it to a certain extent because the game was already out. I feel like to a certain extent I've already played it, and it was the same thing with Dead Space. I didn't buy that. I also got that game from the library, and here I am just like loving these games that stand the test of time and are beautifully remade or remastered with these new versions for our current console. So I'm very grateful for that. You know, there's something to be said, and we can explore that at another time, I'm sure, about revisiting these games. And I don't know, maybe I don't know if I'm the only one. I think I was discounting them to a certain extent because I had played them before. I didn't feel the need to discover something else, but 2023 for me is rediscovering games that I loved and celebrating them and diving into it. And there's something to that. I think that you already know with all of your wonderful retro gaming behind you. You actively participate in this, and I'm discovering it for the first time. And I'm like a child. I'm like, look at this. This is new and fun, even though it's actually old. And games I've already played. It's just a new way of really diving into and activating how I play games.
I mean, pretty soon, Sean, I'm going to get you to bust out your Sega Saturn.
It's not going to happen.
We're going to play have you playing Sakura Wars and Police Knots and all kinds of random old games.
Not going to do it.
Great, Sean.
No,
you love Sega. I know. If there's one thing I know about you, Sean,
I don't hate Sega, but that I don't even know what words you just said.
I don't know either, but yeah. So to round things out with Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 4 also, I think it's amazing, and yeah, like one of the nice things about it versus Dead Space, and why I actually liked Resident Evil 4 remake much more than Dead Space, is because I feel like Resident Evil 4 is a big departure from the original one, where the story is kind of the same and you're going to the same areas, but the gameplay is very different.
So good.
And even the story goes in some different directions when you get later in the game. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say as you get further into the game. But Sean, as for me, I talked about it on last week's show. I played through Final Fantasy 16. I was at the end of the game last time we talked. I have now finished Final Fantasy 16. I bawled my eyes out at the end because the ending definitely went places that I was not expecting. And honestly, it's one of my favorite games of the year at this point. Like it's so incredible, but you don't need me to talk about that.
But Ryan, I heard it wasn't a Final Fantasy game.
It's actually more Final Fantasy than Final Fantasy 15 ever was.
Attaboy. Attaboy. Yep.
Yeah. But at the same time, is it really a role-playing game? That's the bigger debate. But Garrett and I actually talked about that on RPG Cave this week, or last week, actually. We talked about that because we got that question. And we determined that it is, in fact, an RPG, but it's like the most borderline game, RPG to an action game, like a straight action game that you will ever see out there. But it is still technically a role-playing game. But I enjoyed it so much. Like I 100%ed the game. The only thing I need to do is play through the game on New Game Plus and then 100% that to then, get the platinum trophy. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm kind of, putting it on the back burner because I've just been toying around with like smaller games, Sean. Like I went back to Final Fantasy 14 this week.
Smaller game. Yeah.
Well, no, because that's the type of game where I can play it for 2 hours and then put it down and just.
That makes sense. I just want to call it out.
Yeah, just even though it's it's fine. It's the game with a 500-hour campaign. It's okay. It's not that big.
Yep.
Also, I'm still playing Be a Pro mode in NHL 23. I talked about that on last week's show. And I'm committed, Sean, to finishing a full season as my created character, playing all 82 games and then the playoffs. So I'm like halfway through it. I'm like on game like 52. So we're getting.
Oh snap! Look at you!
I got drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, so I'm.
I love it.
Playing for the Canadiens. The Canadiens are currently 48-4 this year. So
damn, dominant.
We lost 4 games, and 3 of them were because my player got injured and got carried off the ice.
Broken femur.
And then last night I actually booted up that Pikmin 4 demo again. It's a Nintendo game. We're not going to talk about too much here, but I enjoyed it. But probably I'm not day one on Pikmin 4 because. Like it's cool, but like I don't know if it's my kind of game. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention, Sean, is I went and watched and this is not a game at all, Sean, but I went back and watched a whole bunch of old episodes of X Play, and one of the things I was actually reminded of, and why I held up a copy of Amp 2 earlier, was I was reminded because I saw all these commercials for XSN, Xbox Sports Network, which was back
amazing
on the original Xbox, Sean.
Yes.
They didn't allow EA to have online for their sports games because Xbox had their own competing sports brand of games, including Amped 2, but also they had like an NHL game, they had an NFL game, they had
tennis game. Did they have a tennis game?
Topspin 1 and 2.
Topspin. Oh, dude, that game was the one you showed people. You're like, look at how good video games look. Topspin looks great.
They had Lynx, which was an old PC franchise that then they brought to Xbox. As
the golf game?
XSN. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a whole thing. And also, Sean, I was reminded, I don't know, do you remember what Xbox's old slogan was during the original Xbox? Because I really like the slogan, but I want to know if
original Xbox, I don't. I remember 360 was jump in, but I don't remember the original Xbox.
So currently we have Power Your Dreams. 360 was jump in. Original Xbox, it's great to play together. Like, I love that really positive message.
Yeah.
Good to play games together, Sean, with your friends.
Yeah, I like even jump in. I was always jealous of a good friend of mine. I don't know if this is like doxing anybody, but like his gamer tag is jumped in. Like he did it. Like he did the thing. And I thought that was amazing. Shout out to Rob, man. Rob's he's a huge reason why I'm even doing this stuff. Shout out to freaking Rob.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't remember that being the original slogan. Good call.
Yeah, I remember seeing it because when I was watching the episodes, there was a bunch of commercials with that in there as well, with that slogan. Also, they just shout out to Magic the Gathering Arena. I've been playing lots of that because they have a new Lord of the Rings expansion for Magic the Gathering, and I've been playing a ton of that as well.
We got to get you connected with the Magic the Gathering people. Like I think that's something we could sort out, my friend.
Yeah. I still think there's enough. If there was enough appetite in the Discord, I would be organizing a weekly Commander game with our Discord people every single week. If we had enough people who played Magic the Gathering,
I think you might be onto something. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, but anyways, Sean, let's slam the brakes on this conversation. It is time for some breaking news, and it was July 4th weekend, and there was some stuff that came out of the FTC court case that we're not going to talk about here, because I think Sean and we kind of agree at this point that until the verdict comes out, we're kind of putting this debate bed at this point. So
it's just so full of console war stuff. Like I think is really the thing. And it's hard because obviously we're an Xbox show. And every time I've listened to really anything else, it just kind of devolves into one side or the other. And it probably did for us as well, even last week. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, man. I would actually like Diablo and Call of Duty into Game Pass. So I'll just state that, and we'll move on from there.
Right there.
That's kind of like, I think that would be good. So that's all.
Just Phil, bring back Marvel Ultimate Alliance when you get Activision, okay? Please.
Is that even possible?
Yeah. Well, they brought it back for the Xbox One generation. They got delisted.
Yeah, give it back. That'd be great.
Or bring back those Spider-Man games from PlayStation 2 and Xbox.
I'm sure that'll be first on the list.
First on the docket.
No, give us another StarCraft game, man. Like let's expand that universe a little bit.
That would be amazing.
That's what I want.
I mean, or bring back StarCraft Ghost. How cool would StarCraft Ghost be if it came back?
Can you imagine? Just like this, only like if you know kind of situation. Like most people have no idea what you're talking about, but it's like this fabled canceled game that'd be so great.
I almost feel like that's a good pitched up retro gaming topic at some point. StarCraft Ghost. Story
nice.
Of StarCraft Ghost.
I like it.
Anyways, Sean, the following games are coming to Game Pass. Of course, we have the Game Pass report where we watch all these trailers, but we'll quickly run them down here. We got Grand Theft Auto 5 out right now on Game Pass, and you'll get it. Sword and Fairy Together Forever, also out right now. We talked about that on 2 weeks ago when we got the last Game Pass drop. And then Nick Pixel 3, that's a Devolver Digital joint coming out July 6th. And then Common Hood, that's coming out July 11th. And then Insurgency Sandstorm, which is a PC-only release, also on the same day, July 11th. And then Exo Primal, July 14th. We're getting in our Exo seats. We're playing that game. Tectonica, which is in game preview, comes July 18th. And then The Cave comes the same day, July 18th as well. And also the following games are leaving Game Pass on July 15th. Exo 1, Paw Patrol the movie, Adventure City Calls, and of course, Spelunky 2, the big one that's leaving. But there you go. We can quickly run it down here. First of all, I know, Sean, you had a good point that you wanted to bring up about Grand Theft Auto coming to Game Pass.
Oh, it has come and gone before, so this isn't like, groundbreaking, and I think it probably just sets into what our expectations should be, is that this isn't going to be around forever. It's almost like a glorified limited edition demo, but it's actually like the full game, obviously, because it's Game Pass. But yeah, you know what? I should have taken the time to go look up who said this. I think I've got it in the Discord.
Here, let me look it up while you talk about it, John.
Well, there's an interesting point that someone on Twitter had pointed out that that the revenue. So it was Derek Strickland at Deke Tweak. Said the last time GTA 5 was on Game Pass, GTA franchise revenues went up from 179 million to 210 million on a quarterly basis. So even just without Game Pass or whatever, like those are just crazy numbers. Always interesting to dive into this stuff. From Grand Theft Auto says Microsoft has also proven that the Game Pass effect is real. Users will buy games when a title rotates out. I think that's fascinating. Says this is a good strategy that Take-Two has used in the past, and I'm run out of the preview here on Discord, but essentially just kind of highlighting that Take-Two wouldn't do this if it wasn't financially successful for them. Yeah. So expect it to be rolled in, rolled out. Maybe this is a nice mutually beneficial arrangement for Xbox to have a gigantic title like Grand Theft Auto coming into Game Pass to people who I guess don't already own.
Yeah, that was something we talked about in the Game Pass report, John. It's like, who doesn't own Grand Theft Auto 5 at this point, really?
Enough people, I suppose. But like this is kind of maybe what I would like to even see more out of Game Pass. It might not be what everybody is looking for as far as games rotating in and out. I'd rather this than not have a game like this come to Game Pass at all, if that makes sense. Like, I'm glad that we still have Persona on there because that's a game that'll take like thousands of hours, but I could see that. I could see big games coming and rotating out every once in a while. I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen more of this on a regular basis. So
yeah. Well, especially because they've had both Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto in there, and they usually last 3 to 6 months, and then they pull them out, and they've done this a couple times with Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead as well. Like, I think you're absolutely right that there's a marketing tactic to this that they know works. So yeah, I'm really interested to see that it's back. Also, you mentioned Persona, Sean. I didn't have this in the document, but we got new trailers for Persona 3 Reload and then Persona 5 Tactica at Anime Expo this weekend. First of all, those 2 new trailers look awesome, especially Persona 3 Reload looks incredible. Like, I'm so excited about that game. That game is, of course, a remake from Persona 3, but in the Persona 5 style and in that engine. It looks very pretty. But the crazy thing about seeing those trailers, Sean, was seeing the Xbox branding on both those trailers, because it's so weird to me still to see whenever they released, I guess, new Persona trailers now, they have the Xbox branding on them now.
Get used to it, man. You know, this journey as far as like getting Japanese or Eastern style games on Xbox, like it's slowly but surely coming here. And yeah, we mentioned Persona, but you also brought up Sword Sword and Fairy Together Forever, which was on PlayStation. It's now available on cloud console and PC. I thought that game, you know, and I'm glad we watched the trailers. I just thought it looked beautiful. I would have looked at just the box art on the JPEG we get from Xbox on these and go like, I mean, I've never heard of it, like whatever. I have to say, like, it jumped out to me big time. It had this action RPG style. You said it wasn't really like Tales, but I don't know exactly how you would otherwise describe it.
It looks like a more clunky version
like
of that,
DMC.
or it looks closer to something like almost like a Dynasty Warriors, but with less enemies. Is what it looked like to me.
There were numbers. We saw numbers. We saw lots of different like elements, and it just looked like a gorgeous game. I don't know if you want to run down the Game Pass games as far as like what stood out to you. And I wish I had more time for a game like Commonhood.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll save that for the Game Pass report if people want to know kind of our full thoughts.
Okay, nice. Yeah,
because we talked about it there, and
we won't do it over again.
We're not going to repeat it again. I think go watch that. If you're listening on audio feeds, just go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/carpoolgaming, and check that out as well.
Shout out to Exoprimal though. I did shout it out at the beginning. We're going to be playing. There's multiplayer on that. We all have Game Pass. I feel like if you're here, you have Game Pass. It's like you're here, your family. It's the Olive Garden, basically, Ryan. But Exoprimal, like, I think that's one that the community can rally around. It's been a little while. The other thing too, I want to call out, this is not Game Pass related necessarily as far as the games coming out. There's a little rumbling, Ryan, in the Discord. I don't know if you've seen this. A few people, I think Stingray and a few others in there talking about getting a crew together for Forza Horizon 5. And guess why they're excited about it?
Because of Barbie. Let's go.
Barbie cars. So yeah, we could have a convoy started over here, and not the kind that, you know, shuts down highways and is political. Just a Barbie convoy.
You didn't have to go there, 5. You didn't have to go there. Instead, we just talked about Barbie like a normal podcast, but no. Look at what Sean did here.
Oh my god!
But yes, I'm excited. I actually haven't gotten. I need to go in and claim those Barbie cars before they disappear.
Yes, today. I think today is the first day.
Yeah,
I think it happened.
I think it's happened. So I got to go get the Barbie cars, Sean, because
All right.
got riding around in Ken's, Hummer in the Barbie convertible. I think it's gonna be a good time. But moving on, Sean. Microsoft have announced that Xbox and Bethesda will be officially back at Gamescom this year for the first time in many years. I think the last time they were at Gamescom was 2019. And they haven't been back to Gamescom since. They're going to have their games on the show floor. Gamescom, of course, takes place August 23rd through 27th. Don't know if this means they'll be part of Opening Night Live, which is Jeff Keighley's thing, but I imagine this opens the door for maybe new trailers or announcements from Xbox during Jeff Keighley's thing during Gamescom. We'll see.
Hexen, predict it. Hexen
Hexen
will show up.
Yeah, or maybe a shadow drop of something. Like maybe that's where we get that Quake 2 announcement we keep hearing about as well, or
That'd be
something like that.
amazing.
Like maybe a smaller game from Microsoft gets announced there. Like there could be something. But either way, I think Starfield's going to be on the floor playable. They said, as well as some other stuff. So, yeah, like and we know we have a lot of the European listeners, Sean, who might actually.
I mean, we might have to tag some of those people. Yeah, we might have to hit up Drellesh and Hoppel and those over there. That could be interesting. I think I just did.
Yeah,
I think I just did. Yeah. All right. Well, think about that, how that plays out. But Starfield, man, I think Yarden was in the chat earlier, just like we're excited about these games coming to Game Pass and Exo Prime and all this stuff. But and the games I'm playing now, Resident Evil, it all comes to a grinding halt when Starfield arrives, my friend. I cannot wait. Oh my gosh, the Constellation Edition is on its way to my house, dude, sometime. So I'm pumped about it, my friend.
Yeah, same. I'm so excited for Starfield that I can't wait for that game, and it's going to be tough in September. It's going to be tough for those other games. Like I'm excited for Mortal Kombat and Cyberpunk and a bunch of other stuff that's coming out in September. But it's going to be tough with Starfield. And actually, when we look at the calendar, Sean, we're less than 2 months away from Starfield.
That's crazy. I don't like thinking about it that way because I want to enjoy the summer. Like I don't want it to be school time.
September 1st. September 1st, it's out because we'll have the Constellation Edition.
Amazing. Can't wait. That's cool that they're at Gamescom though. It shows a little something. I like it. Yeah.
I think we're going to see some cool stuff from Gamescom, which is why I wanted to point it out here. So I think Xbox fans have reason definitely to be tuning into the show. But then last but not least, this is very much a story that's near and dear to Ryan Turford's heart, of course. Tomorrow, July 6th, Friday the 13th, the game will be getting its final update, unlocking all of the game's unlockable content for all players as a way of asking players to come back in for one last trip to camp before the game shuts down on December 31st, 2024. I love Friday the 13th, the game, because I'm a big fan of the Friday the 13th franchise. I'm very sad that this game is going away because it's once it gets delisted, it's also going offline, so you'll no longer be able to play online. There is an offline mode where you can play as Jason and hunt down camp counselor bots. So you do still have a way of playing the game after that date. But I was just such a big fan of this game when it came out that it makes me sad that players are not going to be able to play. But even I, as much as I love this game, didn't go in and unlock all the Jason costumes and all of the executions and stuff because it was a huge grind to do all that stuff. So having that available to kind of play through now, where we can kind of have a good time with the game, where I'm going to actually be reinstalling it and going back in and jumping back into
that's
Friday
nice.
the 13th. After this update happens, like I'm excited to go back and play this game some more, and to kind of like send off the game in a good way, because I think this is a multiplayer game that kind of launched in a buggy state, but I think got better over time and has like a really strong community based around it and Friday the 13th fans. And I'm excited to jump into more. And I'm sad that we didn't get more updates to it. Like I know we had like the Jason X skin coming, and the fact that you could play in space was a thing that was going to happen at one point. But I'm just happy running around with my NES Jason, like purple and teal Jason outfit, running around playing that NES music, killing some camp counselors and having a good time. So there you go.
When did that game come out, Ryan? Like I feel like it just launched.
So, well, it just came out recently on Switch, but it came out in, I was doing Game Moose at the time, I think 2016, 2017, a long time ago.
Okay, so it wasn't like 2 years.
No, it's been out for a while. It's been out for a long time, but it's one of those games that like has like a really dedicated fan base still to this day for that game. And rightfully so, because like they did a fantastic job with the game. And of course, Friday the 13th is a franchise that people really love. It's 2017, Seth corrects me in the chat. Thank you, Seth.
Ryan, I can't see in the chat asks, is it free to play now or do you have to buy it?
You still have to buy it, but they have it on a discounted rate because the game is being delisted.
Yeah, it should be that. Like, how many more months do you have? It's the end of the year. Is that what it is?
No, the end of next year.
Oh, okay.
A year and a half. Like that's why they're still charging for it at this point.
Okay, well, I'm glad I asked because I was thinking this was like imminent. So you still got
at this point, Sean, if you remember, Avengers is actually going to be delisted soon, and
That's
that you still pay full price for.
Yeah, that ain't right. Ain't right.
No, exactly. So I'm just saying that's. I think it'll go free to play next year, if you're willing to wait on this. But for now, I think they're going to charge for it because they know they can get $5 out of you. Because I think it's only like $5 or $10.
There you go. Yeah.
It's pretty cheap. Right. But all right, let's let some of our friends into the car with us, Sean. It is time for the carpool. So we're gonna start with I can't see actually.
Hey.
Of course, let us know in the chat. A question for the show: why do people seem to not like games with gold? I view it just like another perk to Game Pass. I'm not trying to sell people on it, but it has good deals on games, free play days, and some good games to claim each month. Yeah, some of the games seem a bit meh, but there are occasionally some good games. I've heard some good things about Darkwood and The Veil, for example, which I think are the games out this month. Plus, it's the same kind of hit as claiming the Epic's Game Store games each month. I know that we, Sean, made the decision a long time ago to stop talking about games with gold game because honestly, the games that they were putting on games with gold were not exciting games or games that we cared about at this point. So I think that played into our decision about why we're not getting excited, but it's one of those things where when a game that is exciting comes to games with gold, we'll usually highlight it on the show. Like when Star Wars Episode 1 Racer came a couple months ago, I made sure to tell people to download that because that's a really good game. But that doesn't happen as often, or a lot of times, I can't see point. I think some of the games that are coming out this month are better than usual, but a lot of times, like we see some of the games that we see in the ID and Xbox drop that are just ports of mobile games or just very low budget games that have very low Metacritic review scores. So yeah, it's very hard to miss with games with gold, which I think is just played into why people don't get excited. But what do you think, Sean?
I think it's a great question, actually. I think you explored it really nicely because I've definitely found myself with a certain ire whenever I think about games with gold. And I think us not talking about it on the show is a sign of that. What I found us doing every time it showed up was just kind of like rolling our eyes, being very dismissive about it. And with us looking at the Game Pass games a little bit more closely with the trailers earlier today, it almost makes me wonder if I should do the same for games with gold, honestly, like to just remind, I'm actually very appreciative of this question because I've casted it off and I honestly haven't thought of games with gold almost at all.
Yeah.
And I think that every once in a while, maybe I should just make sure that opinion still stands because I cast that opinion a long time ago, but I don't know, like maybe there is something to be said about Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which was in May. You know, like I don't know. This is an eye opener for me, and I think it's important for us to make sure that things that we decided on a year, maybe even 2 ago, that still holds. Now, I think part of it is these games are potentially never going to be as exciting as Game Pass. Like obviously, the focus in Xbox land is on Game Pass, but I love this not throwing it out completely. Maybe we should just have another look. I would say.
Yeah. I think maybe and we'll talk about this in the future, but I think this might be something we roll into the Game Pass report where maybe we watch the trailers for these games at the beginning of the month with the Game Pass first drop and then kind of talk about them more there. I think maybe that's an idea that we can maybe explore.
Because once you have these, like they can't take these away from you. It's really in your control so long as you're a gold member who loves gold from Austin Powers. You can keep them. Yep. But with Game Pass, of course, even if you continue being a Game Pass subscriber, they can still take the games off of Game Pass. So a little bit of a slight difference between the two. But I did not listen to you, by the way, and I did not download Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. So I think I just bought it on Steam or Fnatic.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
of course you did, John. You could have had it for free.
$2.
You could have had it for free and gotten achievements for it because that's actually a very easy 1,000 gamer score game.
Yes. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll get some Steam achievements because who cares about that, man? I love the question. Thank you for the question because it's an awakening for me, I think.
No, I think this is good feedback to get as well.
Yeah.
If people out there, because I think also we partially also made this decision because no one in our community seemed to really be excited or cared about games with gold. And I think that played into that decision a little bit too, where it's just like, if our community didn't care about it and if we didn't care about it, why are we talking?
But people are like actively trying to get them to like take it away. And maybe that's the heart of I Can't See's question.
The thing. People were like, just like, I'd rather have no games than bad games. Was the
like, is that real? Like, I don't know. Like, this seems to be more like Epic Games, you know, we don't really talk about the free games on Epic. I know we're not necessarily a PC show. But sometimes there's good games, but most of the times it's who cares about the free games with Epic.
That's why I think like doing this as part of the Game Pass report makes a lot of sense, because then we can watch the trailers and then we can talk about them there.
Totes.
Like, I think that's good feedback for us to get. Thank you, I Can't See, for that. Also, I Can't See, I'll answer your question from the chat. Yes, Avengers is still in Game Pass. It'll be in Game Pass until it leaves the store completely on September 30th. So that time's coming up soon. So if you do want to actually have Avengers when they delist it, you're going to probably have to buy it before September 30th, which is it's actually a good game, especially just the campaign. They actually unlocked all the DLC for Avengers, kind of like what they did with Friday the 13th. So you now get all the Marvel costumes and stuff like from the cinematic universe for free. So I think it's actually like a pretty good game now.
Nice.
But next up, the Muffin Mon, aka Kevin Ainsworth, asks, "Hello, friends. Do you think the Xbox Store sales are lackluster compared to Nintendo or Steam? I feel like these two platforms get so much more hype for their sales, as Sean could attest to, but I've never seen anyone browse the Xbox Store looking for sales." So I actually think Xbox does good sales, especially like when they do like their countdown sale at the beginning of the year or their Black Friday sales. I think they do good sales throughout the years, but like, we just don't talk about them in the same way. But what do you think about this, Sales Master Sean Capri?
This will change. I vow here and now, Ryan, we will not let this continue. I do not want people to be within the Xbox community and feel like the Xbox sales are not one to be celebrated alongside the Steam sales, alongside the eShop sales. They should be celebrated, especially if you like indie games. You guys, I'm telling you, the deals on indies are often and they are deeply discounted. I think that is definitely something to be aware of. But I don't know why I don't talk about this, because I do scroll through those deals. I add to the wish list. I think the overall shopping experience in Xbox land is excellent. I would say, like, especially compared to Nintendo, which is atrocious. And I can't believe I spend money over there sometimes. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? But yes, noted, Kevin. I think there's often very, very good deals, deep discounts on games that you want. I guess maybe the thing is, like, because I buy so many games so often, like, I've actually started to run out of things. Like, it starts to get to the point where kind of the same games kind of get discounted. But this is where I have Resident Evil 2 and 3, which was bundled. Like, those remakes were bundled together, and that's how I picked up those games, my friend.
Yeah, like, I think there's always great deals on Xbox. And I think, honestly, if I compare the last big Xbox sale, which just ended on Monday, versus what we were getting from the Steam Summer Sale, like, they're pretty much the same.
Totally.
On the games that exist on both platforms. Like, I think that the sale itself was just as good as the Steam Summer Sale. It just happens to be, like, Steam has that reputation for years of being that company that had really, like, super deep discounts that they don't even do anymore at this point. Like, the Steam Summer Sale is not nearly as good as, like, Steam Summer Sale 2019 was, where you could buy, like, big bundles of games for less than $10 that now you get on the summer sale for twice as, or even 3 times as much.
It's pretty nuts, man. I'm kind of scrolling through, like, the last time so I think probably the holiday season was the last time I really went nuts with one of these sales. I picked up Sonic Frontiers, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Trials HD. Ryan Turford.
All good games that I have never heard you talk about, because I don't think
I've played any of them. I have played, I kind of tossed aside Sonic Frontiers. I didn't love, and Lego Star Wars was kind of boring, honestly. I've dipped in and out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I keep dying in the dam level of the first NES game, which is where my love lies.
Play the other games in that collection. Play 2, play 3, play Turtles in Time. Those are all much better.
I feel like these are, it's interesting you say that, because, like, when I go nuts with these sales, these are games that I will play just for fun, just to toss it in there and just kind of remind myself of some of them, but not really to like give you a dissertation on.
Oh, for sure.
Let me tell you about my time with Trials HD, the 360 game that changed everything.
It changed everything, Sean.
Yeah.
Everything. All right. Last question of the week comes to us from Nagachaka, who says, as I continue my journey with Persona 5 Royal, it got me thinking about how amazing it is to see so many Persona games that are now on Game Pass, including future Persona titles like Persona 3 Reload, which got me thinking, what other franchise should Xbox get for Game Pass? This might be too much, but the Resident Evil franchise might be pretty awesome, right? Imagine Resident Evil 9 coming to Game Pass day one. I don't think you ever see that happening. Sorry, Nagachaka. I
Damn.
think, like,
shutting down
only
dreams.
because I think the series that you see coming to Game Pass are series or games that the developers either they feel like they're not going to make their return on investment, so they take the Game Pass dollar bag from Microsoft to help offset some of the development costs, or they put them there if they're a smaller developer like an indie studio. Like, I don't think, like Capcom, for example, with Exo Primal, I feel like they aren't confident that game's going to sell super well, so they're putting it on Game Pass to offset the developer costs or to get people just into it, because maybe they'll sell you on the DLC or microtransactions on Exo Primal. I think that's kind of the strategy there. Whereas Resident Evil sells too many copies, I think, for Game Pass to be able to, or for Microsoft to be able to pay them out to have that game be day one. Because, and I'm going to bring this back to the FTC case, Sean, of course, because of course I am. We found out how much it costs to develop a AAA game because of the not so redacted letters that Sony had that they highlighted in a Sharpie, where a AAA game basically costs $200 million plus to develop, which would and in most of these Game Pass deals, as far as we understand them, and we don't really ever get the hard numbers on them, Microsoft usually needs to pay at least a good portion of them to get that game on
the development cost. Yeah.
So so let's say Resident Evil 9, as an example, cost $200 million for Capcom to develop. Xbox would probably have to pay them at least $100 million to get that on Game Pass day one.
I think you're focusing on the day and date though, and I don't know, like, because Persona wasn't, I mean, not necessarily day and date, like to the system.
All the games are coming day and date that are, and that's part what Nagachuk is asking here is what franchises should Xbox get day and date is what he's asking. So that's what I'm focusing on, that because that's why we don't see the bigger games, the games that Capcom knows will sell 9 million copies.
Oh, then that's a short answer. No notable series will get day and date, but I looked at Persona as one that like isn't that. So it's more possible and opens it up a little bit.
Like, that's why that works.
Yeah. No, I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was thinking like, go get Street Fighter. Go get all the Street Fighter games on Game Pass. I think that would be awesome. Even if it's not Street Fighter 6, but somehow get Street Fighter 5 over there.
It's not even on Xbox, and I think that contract lasts forever. Like, I don't think that game can ever leave PlayStation. Probably not. But
PC. All the others, who cares about 5? Nobody liked it anyways. Get the 30th anniversaries, get the Alpha 2s, all those other things. I think that would be cool. Mortal Kombat is kind of already there to a certain extent. You can play a lot of the Mortal Kombats, but what if you had all of the Mortal Kombats? Like, that's kind of how I took this question. Like, get all the games in a franchise.
Can you play all the Mortal Kombat? I don't think you can. You can play most of the Mortal Kombats on Xbox, but I don't think they're part of Game Pass.
Mortal Kombat 11 is, and I guess I'm counting the Injustice games, but yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, go back further, go back to what game on 360.
10, Mortal Kombat, the 360 game.
What about Armageddon?
Yeah, that's too far back. That's not even backwards compatible. At least Mortal Kombat 9 is backwards compatible, so you could have that.
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few comprehensive series there. Like, you have most of Fallout, if not all of Fallout at this stage. Like, you got a lot of Tomb Raider, you got a lot of Assassin's Creeds on there, a lot of things that EA has done.
All Fallout's there just on PC, just not on console, because those games don't exist on console.
The PC games for sure. Yeah, like, it's actually an interesting question to kind of go through and go, like, what is missing? Like, all the first party stuff, which includes now Bethesda, for the most part is there. So I love this question. Yeah,
no, for sure. And again, like, that's why you don't see day one big releases. Like, Persona makes sense because they're only going to make so much money on Xbox anyways. And it helps offset the development costs for them. So it makes sense for Sega to do that. And I think Sega is doing that with a lot of franchises, but that's also the main reason why, like a Dragon 8 is coming to Xbox next year, but it's not going to be day and date. It'll be on Game Pass eventually, but it won't be there day one. or anything like that. So I think that's where the difference comes in, where I think, yes, there's a possibility of us getting more franchises like that coming to Game Pass that after the like post release. But as far as day and date games, those will always be reserved for indie titles or smaller games from larger publishers, like Exoprimal being a good example of that. But anyway, Sean, that's going to do it for this episode of the Xbox Drive. Before we go, Sean, plugs go.
I'm sad it's over. We have 2 more episodes. Is it 2? I need the count over here, Ryan. 2 more episodes. Till episode 300. We're giving away some cool stuff. We're going to talk for 300 minutes, and then that's it. At the 300th minute, we are, I don't care where we're at, and whatever sentence anybody is saying,
just
you cut it there.
Roll
that is it. You guys can follow me on Twitter. It's Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I'm still there. I'm not into whatever Hive or I don't even know. I can't
Blue
keep track.
Sky,
I'm not moving
Sean?
anywhere. Not going
Friends?
anywhere. Find me on Twitter. I don't care. Discord, same name. Join the Discord. It's free. You don't have to be a patron. Although I would love it if you became a patron. And this is the other thing. I didn't even share this with anybody else. We turned on a little feature, Ryan, over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. I don't even know if I told you about this, to be honest with you. This could be a new thing.
This is new news for me.
You can join for free. You can get a 7-day free trial over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. I'll tell the rest of the codes. The rest of the drives, man. We turned it on. You do a 7-day thing. You get a little insight into what we do over there. You get access to the exclusive tier. And then, of course, we hope that you stick around. We hope that you see the tremendous values, the best value in video game Patreons out there. And you get to jump in our pants, the Pants Patreon podcast for Patrons Podcast, Ryan.
I was going to say, now that we're both part of it, in theory, they can go
jump in Mauler pants.
Yeah. Also, with the trials, there's a certain episode of BTS that has us talking about Xbox Drive 300 that have details that we haven't announced here. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
If you want to go learn more about that, it's over there on the Patreon. As for me, you can find me on the old Twitter at Ryan Turford. I'm also not on Blue Sky or Threads or anywhere else at this point. You can also find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live. And I mentioned the Twitch channel, Sean, because I think I might go on Twitch tonight. So, Sean, I may or may not have prepped a tournament bracket of 32 games.
Stop. Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. It's at the end of the show. We need to tell people about this. This is amazing.
That's fine. It's more fun if I just show up on Twitch and
I love it. I agree. I totally agree.
So maybe later tonight I do
love
that.
it.
Go through 32 games and figure out what I'm playing next. Because I have one more game. I need to figure out what I need to play between now and Starfield, and this will tell me what to play.
So good.
Also, you can find us on right here, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, and of course, podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 298 of the Xbox Drive. Only 2 more episodes before episode 300, and we're out. Bye.
Go to carpoolgaming.com to get all the updates and to subscribe to all of our things and get all the updates. And you can buy shirts from there. You can buy all the merch. We got really big mugs, and I wasn't sure what I was going to say at the start of this. I don't even know why I do this thing. Ryan is running out of gas, and so am I. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
No power greater than X.